I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.
Oh, whoo, woo! Yes, yes, yes. What? Yes, nigga. Yes, I know you see it. Yes. Y'all gotta understand what's going on right now. If you don't understand it, you don't understand it. That's cool. It's not on me. It's not on me. At the start of this, I told you, I'm not gonna beg you to make this fucking money. Yes, nigga. You know what's crazy? I sat there, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I sat there and I wondered for a long time, yo, how am I gonna get back, bro? How am I gonna get back right? They took every single avenue away from me. They took the playlisting away from me. They took every single thing they could take away from me. And you know what I said, bro? I sat there. I said, you know what? This isn't on me. This isn't a me thing no more. This isn't a Tory versus the world. This isn't that. You know what I did? I immediately went to praying. I immediately went to straight praying. The first thing I got praying, I said, God, show me a way. Show me a way. Just show me how I can get through here. Show me a way. Show me something that's different. Show me when the world is standing against me, show me a different way. And I prayed, I kept praying. And God told me he was going to bless me 1,000 times over. To the point one day I'm praying my nigga. And one day I'm all praying and it gets to this standpoint where I'm like, yo, I'll just start, it's like God just starts speaking through me and he's telling me, and I'm praying with my man E, and I'm like, and God's speaking through me, he's just like, y'all are about to step into something that you can't even fathom the blessings of. Like, you can't even fathom what this is about to be. You can't fathom what this is. And at the time I didn't understand it because, you know, they was blocking me in every kind of way. And for a second, I said, I'm not gonna question it. I'm just have my faith and I'm gonna keep going. You know what I'm saying? And every time they try to stop me, I just kept praying. I just kept going. Y'all not understanding what's going on. Let me fully explain this to you. I told y'all, $1 for the NFTs, right? I sold these shits to my fans for $1. People came, some people bought 20, some people bought 5, some people bought 60. It doesn't matter how much you bought. It was only $1. You spent $60, you bought 60. I need y'all to understand. One of those copies right now is going for 50,000, 60,000, 60,000. Yo, my nigga, and these are sold. They're sold. Go look at the list right now and see how small the sellers list is getting. Y'all don't understand what the fuck is going on? Y'all don't understand I just cracked the fucking industry? Y'all don't understand I just cracked this shit? I just cracked this whole shit. It's cracked. It's over. I cracked the whole shit. It's over. It's over. No more middleman. All y'all artists out there, fuck your label. Fuck the nigga that's telling you, yo, you gotta wait for this day on Spotify and on this. Fuck that. Nigga, it's over. Y'all gonna get paid, and your fans gonna get paid, and they gonna keep coming to you. Why? Because y'all making money together. This the digital trap house. Welcome, niggas. You're fucking welcome. We here. You understand why I'm going so crazy? I can't believe I did this shit my fucking self. This may not make sense to niggas like y'all. Some of y'all niggas, it hasn't registered yet. It hasn't got there yet. It hasn't got there. Y'all niggas like, yo, why is he screaming? Come on. Understand. Look into it. Do your research, nigga. This is revolutionary, nigga. This is history in the fucking making. It's niggas right now. I think the lowest copy right now is going for 30,000. The lowest you can sell it for. Imagine a nigga who bought 5. Imagine a nigga who spent $5. Imagine a nigga who really spent $5, my nigga. He can make 500,000 selling them bitches for 100,000 right now, and niggas are buying it, nigga. Have you niggas ever sold an album for 100,000? Yo,
I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. What's up, world? Welcome to another edition of I Mix What I Like Live. Again, I'm Jared Ball. Happy to be here on Black Power Media. Grand Rising, greetings, hotep, peace, all that good stuff. Yeah, that was some wild stuff right there. Of course, Tory Lanez talking about what is a hotly discussed, apparently, drop of his new NFT album. And we're going to talk about it. Like he said, do your research. And I did. I at least started to. Spent a lot of the wee hours of the morning on my Elmer Fudd chasing wabbits. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. So anyway, we're going to get into that. Brother Kaba is on his way. And a number of other things this morning as well. So please do like, share, subscribe, join, click the bell, reach out, invite someone to join you here this morning or to check it out later, whichever is convenient. We appreciate it all. And just briefly passing through. Good morning. I had to set the tone, man. I had to set the context. Oh man, yeah. Yep. Definitely just had to set the context. He really does believe what he's saying right now. And shout out, by the way, to Salifu Mac. Just got the email just before the show. I appreciate the shout out in your recent article at Hood Communist. Shout out to Hood Communist, and apologies, I just didn't get a chance to see it and get to it enough before the show. I'm not playing. I was boy, was I chasing wabbits, boy, for a minute this morning. Definitely greetings, good morning, peace. Oh yeah. I'm sure. Absolutely. Right on. Welcome everybody. Okay. All right, so while we wait for Kaba to get here, let me just go ahead and get moving, because there's a lot to get to, and I'm sure it won't be difficult for him to catch up. So as I said, I was setting the context, and this is perfect because just had another brilliant first week of classes. Go Bears! Doing some Black studies, some sociology of mass communication. Got a new office in a nice new building. It's kind of slick. You know, I'm not fond of wearing the mask when you teach, but it is what it is. And we had a great first week. Shout out to my students. Anyway, but I had to set the context because already, you know, Tory Lanez has come up in my classes. Megan Thee Stallion, Megan Thee Stallion has come up in my classes. Obviously, we can come back to this, but he is there was an update on his status. I think his bail was increased, and he's struggling to stay out of jail for having shot Megan, which, you know, anyway, so this is certainly not to praise him. This is in fact to make a lot of different points about what he said there. So I wanted to just start with that. And I wanted, you know, and I'm actually glad, as Salifu pointed out, that his energy was at a certain level. He was really believing what he was saying. but he was suggesting at least two different things that are of interest to me. One, the music freedom, the artist freedom, the issue of being free from label dominance, being able to control your art, own your art, be the primary beneficiary of your art. I have been long interested in that discussion, and on some level I appreciate and understand any artist's attempt to free themselves from a corporate, very colonizing apparatus, very colonial apparatus, because of course this is a colonial situation. But anyway, the other issue that he raises is the issue of NFTs. And what that means for both music, money, trade, investment, et cetera, and so forth. And I actually was trying to look at it real non-fungible token. I couldn't remember what the T stood for. Non-fungible token, because a lot of this was. I want to say was. I want to say was given all of this, but all of the rabbit hunting I've been doing. But it is new to me. But what is happening comports to a broader argument and analysis, which fits and bleeds very nicely, I guess pun intended, but that's I don't want to do that. It blends nicely into what we're going to also talk about with some new information or an update on the whole buying power issue and the return of Ebony and Jet magazine. Oh, perfect timing. Perfect. I'm glad you got here, my man, because I didn't want you to miss. I wanted to do this live viewing of this next video with you. Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Dr. Ball.
So just very quickly, I was just, rehabilitating with everyone after we sat through the full 4+ minute promo from Tory Lanez.
Yeah.
And there was some confusion in the chat as to what was happening. Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, people thought you sold out completely. Y'all just talking about corporate sponsorship. I was like, oh, they done it.
Not yet. Not yet.
Like, damn.
Exactly. But what I was really wanting to do is, because I'm very glad that you got here for this, because as I was saying, the two issues that he raises that are of interest to me are, one, the record label artistic freedom, and the other is that the selling his art as a non-fungible token is a new way to create money for the artist and for others who would engage in that exchange. Now I know. Yeah, so this is perfect, because I want us to watch this next video, and then I want us all to read through what I think is a very funny and good summary of what all of this is, and then we can start to, I think, very easily see our analyses build around what's going on here. So again, just building off of that energy that we just saw, I want us to take a look at this right here.
Welcome back to Between Bells. One company wants to change the way artists are paid in the music industry, and they're doing so with NFTs. Emmerisve Entertainment is looking to pay their artists for every song or content they create. They're launching a new streaming platform called NFT.com, which is designed specifically for NFT music. Rapper, singer, and producer Tory Lanez is teaming up with the company to launch the first ever music streaming NFT. Today, fans can pre-order his latest album, When It's Dark, for $1 using crypto
freedom
or
from the
cash.
industry.
Joining us now to talk about the new concept is David Kovacs, co-founder of Emmerisve Entertainment, and recording artist Tory Lanez. Guys, welcome to the show. This concept is shaping the future of music technology. You guys know that. You've been on the forefront here. David, let me start with you. What was the inspiration behind creating NFT.com?
Well, we wanted to give the artist back the creative control and take the power, well, take somewhat of the power out of the hands of the traditional ways of the YouTubes, et cetera, et cetera. So the artist should be rewarded appropriately for their hard work and their blood, sweat, and tears. And this is the best way of doing it, through an NFT. And we are the first to release a streaming NFT album.
David, if I can follow up on that, how is this changing the industry, the music industry, especially for those independent artists out there?
Oh, tremendously. It gives them the power again. It gives them the exposure. And also in the partnership with Le Motif, which is one of our partners, they acquired us, and arguably the second biggest video sharing platform in the world behind TikTok, we have massive distribution as well. So for the first time ever, the artists are able to monetize their content themselves.
And Tory, you're no stranger to the NFT space. Why did you decide to get involved with Emmerisve Entertainment?
I believe in doing everything that I do in a disruptive way when it's positive. And just being somebody that likes to break the regular traditional rules. And I felt like the people at Emmerisve did just that. And, you know, from the beginning, I feel like our eyes and our ideas have always had a synergy to them. So yeah, we've been rocking ever since. It's been amazing.
David, break down this concept. How does it work exactly?
So Tory's album is going to be available to you can register for purchasing his album for $1 at 5 o'clock today at e-nft.com. There's only going to be 1 million made. They're all smart contracts. So you need a token in order to listen to the album.
Richie
so this is bringing back the albums where versus people just steal music. Now you actually have to purchase it. It's also collectible. It's an NFT and it's tied to Ethereum. So it's the true blockchain. So what everybody was waiting for the NFTs with music, it's being delivered today. We are making history today. Tory Lanez is at the forefront of it. It was his idea. A lot of it was his creativity, his idea. He's a creative genius. He's also a business genius. Flow Rider, Eric Hicks, Carbetis, our whole team is, you know, put this all together, and we're going to see how it goes today.
Tory, a lot of your fans have been waiting for this album. You've had quite the year. What can fans expect? What are they getting with this release?
Well, this is the first ever unreleased music album, just for starters. So this music won't be out in the YouTubes and the everything just for free. This is like, again, like how David said, this is the first time that they're actually getting this experience and going through a historical moment of unreleased music being so just so important that it can be resold later, and it can be resold as something that's bigger than just some audio files and some music files. And so I'm very excited because this is truly a bite out of history today.
No, absolutely. And I agree with you and David. This is a collectible, just the way you guys are releasing it. Tory, just to follow up, why should more artists get involved in the NFT space?
Truly, I feel like this is finally a platform bringing you back to when artists were able to drop something or have something that was intellectually incredible to them, and then them be able to be rewarded the same way they feel about it. So I feel like this is the only way that kind of, as an artist, you're allowing yourself to get paid really for what you feel like you deserve to be paid. Like, a lot of artists don't get paid the amount of money that their ideas are worth, and we're trying to change that. And this will be what does change that. And so I'm very confident, just as an independent artist myself, reaching the echelons that I've reached, that this platform and the NFT will be the new wave of just music in general.
To that point, David, do you think record labels and the industry should try to keep up with NFTs, and how would they do that?
Well, it's where it has to go, right? I mean, when Napster was created in the late 90s by Sean Parker, he pretty much ripped off the entire music industry. He stole all this music from these artists. This is now bringing back the album. And if you think about what Tory did, is he made these albums $1. So he's connecting with his fans. And he's also limiting you to purchasing 100 of them. When we started, we sold 3 NFTs for $2 million to these big Wall Street people. This is not our business. We want to connect to the scalability of the masses. We don't want that model. We want the people, the fans, to connect with the artists. And absolutely, they need to be ahead of the times. If the record labels don't do it, then what? They're kind of like giving away free artists, music. Why would they take the blood, sweat, and tears? I see how hard our artists work. I see how hard Tory works, the blood, sweat, and tears to create the musical genius that he is, to create this beautiful music, and it just gets stolen. That's not fun.
That's not good. This is the way everybody wins, including the fans.
Tory, as you well know, hip hop has always been on the forefront of culture and trends. How is hip hop cashing in on the NFT space and, of course, pushing this trend forward?
Well, I would actually just like to say it's not really hip hop, it's immersive. I mean, we are now actually creating something that's never before been done, and also something that is now as easy and accessible for people who don't know crypto. As an artist in hip hop, I'll go to a lot of my peers that don't know what it is to have crypto coin, and they don't know what a blockchain is, or they don't know. And this is my way of actually kind of creating something that's just easier for you. This is $1. It's easy for you to buy. You can open up your wallet. It's so much accessibility just to doing this that is kind of going to give you a way higher IQ on how this works in a very simple way. And that is priceless.
Well, I'm excited to see what happens next. David Kovacs, co-founder of Emmerisve.
Okay. All right. So again, I just wanted everybody to see what's really happening. And there's more, but just already, and I'm interested to hear what you would have to say about any of it, but particularly this question of artist freedom and what this might mean. And I haven't had a chance to fully think that part through yet, but what it definitely means is, and we're going to get into all of this in detail in a minute, is that first of all, in order to buy the album, you have to purchase Ethereum. And engage in crypto and open up a crypto account and get involved. Ethereum. What did I say? What did I say? Did I say that? I don't think I said.
I think you said Aretha Franklin or something like that.
Ethereum.
What you want?
Man, years ago, man, on the radio, I think I just might have I put myself in that class. We were on the air, and a co-host of ours said use the word deleterious, and I said I think it's deleterious, and then our other co-host said no, because deleterious is my cousin. So I think I just put myself in that territory. But anyway, the point is you have to buy crypto to get the album. You have to get the album. That's what Emmerisve is, and even more specifically, just very quickly. This Kovacs guy who is the head of Emmerisve specializes in investment banking, private equity, and venture capital, and has extensive experience in both mature and emerging markets, having analyzed hundreds of deals and executed both buy and sell side engagements. Mr. Kovacs served as the head of investment banking research and private equity for North America for Fitch Learning. Before that, he held private equity and investment banking roles in key positions in Hindua Group, Blackstone, and Citigroup. So I just wanted to give that little bit of a background. So anyway, any first thoughts on this so far?
Well, I mean, just echoing everything that we said about crypto up to this point, and others have said about it that have been critical of it. It kind of reminded me, they mentioned that this has never been done before in terms of, releasing a certain number of albums. Now, certainly the crypto angle has been done. Actually, I just heard a podcast a couple months ago from an artist who's a white guy. He said basically that's how he's been selling his product. And he's only sold like a few of them. But again, they're so unique that he was able to fetch a pretty penny for it. So that has been done before. So I'm not sure what they meant by that. But also several years ago, Wu-Tang did a one copy album called Once Upon a Time in Shaolin. I think it was 2008. And there was this guy who just went to jail, who was a one of these financial, hucksters, and he ended up having to forfeit, about several $1 million worth of assets, including that particular album that he had bought from the Wu-Tang, and I think he bought it for like $2 million or something like that. And they only made one album, one copy of the album, and so he got. So that's one thing. But I'm of two minds in the sense that I'm thinking like if I make an album and some of these wealthy, like really wealthy crypto people, want to buy it, I'm like, why not? If they, so now that. So that's one aspect of it, but in terms of for the masses, You know, it's not for the masses, obviously, because then you have to get in on the crypto piece. And the whole angle is, again, they're using rappers, famous rappers, in order to get black people in on it, so that they can, you know, participate in this Ponzi scheme. So that's ultimately that's what we're looking at when it comes to the masses.
Absolutely. So I've already seen, having gone down the rabbit hole, I've already seen on YouTube and elsewhere a lot of misunderstanding. People, for instance, saying, you know, how is he going to make money if he's only selling it for $1, and then it's based on other people buying and reselling it? How does he make money on all of that? There's all kinds of, and even in the video we just watched where they were talking about, this is how you're going to learn what all of this means. They don't really explain what NFTs are and how all of this works. So I found this article from just came out just a couple of days ago, that I think is a really fun and you know, interesting and accurate way to understand what is going on. And then, as I think we'll see, there's a lot of contradictions with what is being presented, and a lot of overlap with what, not only what you just said, but what we've been talking about for a minute here. So NFTs explained. I have questions about this emerging art platform. There's nothing like an explosion of news to leave you thinking, what's going on here? That's the feeling I've experienced while reading about the Grimes getting millions of dollars for NFTs, or about Neon Cat being sold as one. And by the time we all thought we sort of knew what the deal was, the founder of Twitter put out an autographed tweet up for sale as an NFT. Now, months after we first published this explainer, we're still seeing headlines about people paying house money for clip art of rocks. And my mom still doesn't really understand what an NFT is. You might be wondering, what is an NFT anyhow? After literal hours of reading, I think I know. I also think I'm going to cry. Okay, let's start with the basics. What is an NFT? What does NFT stand for? Non-fungible token. That doesn't make it any clearer. Right. Sorry. Non-fungible more or less means that it's unique and can't be replaced with something else. For example, a Bitcoin is fungible. Trade one for another Bitcoin and you'll have exactly the same thing. A one-of-a-kind trading card, however, is non-fungible. If you traded it for a different card, you'd have something completely different. You gave up a Squirtle and got a 1909 T206 Honus Wagner. Which Stadium Talk calls the Mona Lisa of baseball cards? I'll take their word for it. How do NFTs work? At a very high level, most NFTs are part of the Ethereum blockchain. Ethereum is a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin.
That's easy for you to pronounce. I was in Western Maryland, by the way, last weekend. I actually was had a gig in West Virginia, and we drove through Western Maryland. We drove through Frostburg, and I saw a sign that said "The Home of Mama's Biscuits."
I'm sure you did.
Picture, but we went by it too fast.
I'm sure.
You can actually
Negro Mountain.
I think you can actually buy one of the old sessions that y'all had with some NFTs and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make a picture. I'm gonna sell that picture that I showed the other day as an NFT, and I'm gonna get rich. But you did drive by Negro Mountain, right? I believe you would have had to. I think it's still there and still titled that.
Wow, I didn't see that.
Like literally. Oh, it's literally on the way out to, if you go out there anyway. That's a whole other anyway. But Ethereum is a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin or Dogecoin, but its blockchain also supports these NFTs, which store extra information that makes them work differently from, say, an ETH or Ethereum coin. It is worth noting that other blockchains can implement their own version of NFTs. What's worth picking up at the NFT market? NFTs can be anything digital, such as drawings, music, your brain downloaded and turned into an AI, but a lot of the current excitement is around using the tech to sell digital art. Like this one. You mean like people buying my good tweets? I don't think anyone could stop you, but that's not really what I meant. A lot of the conversation is about NFTs as an evolution of fine art collecting, only with digital art. Side note, when coming up with the line buying good tweets, we were trying to think of something silly that so of course the founder of Twitter just sold one for under $3 million shortly after we posted the article. That's deep.
And that's what I
do
mean.
people-
Like, if and that's what I meant by one of these like really wealthy people want to buy.
That's right. You might as well give it a
Here
shot.
is.
That's it.
It's a one of a kind. You know, they like one of a kind stuff. You know,
That's it. You know, absolutely. Do people think this will become like art collecting? I'm sure some people really hope so. Like whoever almost paid $390,000 for a 50-second video by Grimes, or the person who paid $6.6 million for a video by Beeple. Actually, one of Beeple's pieces was auctioned at Christie's, the famous I guess auction houses, whatever that was going. And I don't know if that's the picture, but that's part of the joke of the article.
Right.
Sorry, I was busy right clicking on Beeple video and downloading the same file the person paid millions of dollars for. So there's your point. Wow, rude. But yeah, that's where it gets a bit awkward. You can copy a digital file as many times as you want, including the art that's included with an NFT. But NFTs are designed to give you something that can't be copied, ownership of the work, though the artist can still retain the copyright and reproduction rights, just like the physical artwork. To put in terms of physical art collecting, anyone can buy a Monet print, but only one person can own the original. And this is where we start to get into how Tory Lanez is hoping to make a lot of money. Because even as someone, if they only put out 1 million copies of his NFT album and everybody buys it for whatever they can, however many they can get for $1, it is in the resale and the percentage of each resale that goes back to him that he hopes to make money off of. In addition to, Kaba, as you're saying, maybe someone will just want to, get crazy with it and spend millions to buy a copy of it as a collector's item. Anyway, so no shade to Beeple, but the video isn't really a Monet. What do you think of the $3,600 Gucci ghost? Also, you didn't let me finish earlier. That image that Beeple was auctioning off at Christie's ended up selling for $69 million, which, by the way, is 15 million more than Monet's painting Nymphaeus sold for in 2014. Yo, the Gucci ghost. $69 million. I mean, whoever got that Monet can actually appreciate it as a physical object. With digital art, a copy is literally as good as the original. But the flex of owning an original Beeple. I think I remember hearing that NFTs are already over. Didn't they go boom or bust?
Oh my God.
But surely you've heard of penguin communities, right? So the people who have long built communities based on things they own, and now it's happening with NFTs. One community that's been exceedingly popular revolves around a collection of NFTs called Pudgy Penguins. But it's not only the community built up around it's not the only community built up around the tokens. It could be argued that one of the earliest NFT projects, CryptoPunks, has a community around it, and there are other animal-themed projects like the Bored Ape Yacht Club that have their own clique. Of course, the communal activities depend on the community. For Pudgy Penguin or Bored Ape owners, it seems to involve vibing and sharing memes on Discord or complimenting each other on their Pudgy Penguin Twitter avatars. What's the point of NFTs? That really depends on whether you're an artist or a buyer. So here we go again with something more specific. Well, I'm an artist. First off, I'm proud of you. Way to go. You might be interested in NFTs because it gives you a way to sell work that there otherwise might not be much of a market for. If you come up with a really cool digital sticker idea, what are you going to do? Sell it on iMessage App Store? No way. Also, NFTs have a feature, and this is where I was pointing to with Tory Lanez, NFTs have a feature you can enable that will pay you a percentage every time the NFT is sold or changes hands, making sure that if your work gets super popular and balloons in value, you'll see some of that benefit. So that's, again, where Tory Lanez is hoping to make his money, and where other artists might hopefully make their money. I'm a buyer. Well, yeah, go ahead. Did you want to say something? My bad.
No, that's it.
Okay. One of the obvious benefits of buying art is that it lets you financially support artists you like. And that's true with NFTs, which are way trendier than like Telegram stickers. Buying an NFT also usually gets you some basic usage rights, like being able to post the image online or set it as your profile picture. Plus, of course, there are bragging rights that you own the art with a blockchain entry to back it up. No, I meant I'm a collector. Ah, okay, yes. NFTs can work like any other speculative asset. Again, speculative asset. Where you buy and hope that the value of it goes up one day so you can sell it for a profit. I feel kind of dirty talking about it, talking about that though. So again, speculative asset, just like cryptocurrency, which is again the point of the Tory Lanez piece, at least, of getting people onto or any of these NFTs, because they all require an engagement with Ethereum. So every NFT is unique. In the boring technical sense that every NFT is a unique token on the block. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, my bad. Go ahead.
I think it's the lag too. I think I'm lagging.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. I think you hear me, but I'm there's a lag. Let me try to work this out, and I'll get back to that.
Okay. In the boring technical sense that every NFT is a unique token on the blockchain, but while it could be like a Van Gogh, where there's only one definitive actual version, it could also be like a trading card where there's 50 or hundreds of numbered copies of the same work. Well, who would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for what basically amounts to a trading card? Well, that's part of what makes NFTs so messy. Some people treat them like they're the future of fine art collecting, read as a playground for the mega rich. And some people treat them like Pokemon cards, where they're accessible to normal people, but also a playground for the mega rich. Well, speaking of Pokemon cards, Logan Paul just sold some NFTs relating to $1 million box of the wow. Okay, go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that this is really just an extension. I mean, like, as we all know, newsflash, this is an extension of capitalism. And one of the things that capitalism does is it needs good PR. Both of us are very familiar with Eddie Bernays, who made diamonds very popular. If you know anything about diamonds are they're not rare, but they're sold to people as rare, and that's where their appeal is. And so they used, as Bernays pointed out, as he did in his campaigns, they used celebrities to sell diamonds. Diamonds, as I say, are not rare. They actually are very common. They're like rocks, and wherever they are found, they're pretty much everywhere. So there's not a whole lot of value in the sense of the scarcity principle that drives a lot of capitalism, but they're sold as such. And so, there's really not too much difference between a diamond or cubic zirconia. They're both rocks, other than the fact that value is placed in one over the other. That's it, really, honestly. So the same thing is happening here. What we're seeing is that they're capitalizing. It's a very niche kind of market. So they're capitalizing more on, what you would call in advertising and media, your P1s. Your P1s are the people that they're gonna be down with you no matter what. They're gonna listen to your station or watch your station or whatever. Those are like your rabid fans. Those are people who are really into whatever you're doing. And so this is pretty much profiting off of those people to create a buzz, to create a facade of an inflated value.
Right, like $170,000 for this.
There you go. And so somebody paid for, I don't have that, but I can make a copy. And so a lot of people, because of the prestige, like I've seen some of those paintings that they say are supposed to be so great, some of these, the Monets of the world or whatever. I'm just using that as an example. But I mean, I really wasn't impressed with a lot of them, to be honest with you, other than the fact that people have said these are wonderful paintings. This is a masterpiece. And so people wanted to get copies of it. And to that point in the article, copies were made. And so just the thought of the perception of an inflated value is what drives it. And so that's kind of what fuels it. But it starts with the people who are actually fans, and then creating a whole PR campaign around the value of this thing. And then you have to do that by, just like Bernays did 100 years ago with diamonds, with attaching movie stars and placing diamonds in movies and using phrases. He created the phrase, you know, diamonds are forever. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Those are all attributed to PR people like Eddie Bernays. And so that created a value that really wasn't there. It was an inflated value. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all based upon what people believe. It's all based on what they say, confidence. That's the whole thing. And to the extent that the confidence is strong, then it will be, the commodity will be strong. To the extent that the confidence is not strong, then of course the commodities will be weak. And so that's what we're actually witnessing, a new diamond revolution, so to speak, right now with these NFTs.
This was my favorite part, particularly for some of us of a certain age that remember when there was a moment in the 1970s where people were literally spending a good money on buying pet rocks that were literal rocks put in a box and sold in a store. But nobody spent $46,300 for one that I could recall. But this one, this digital rock was sold, according to this person, why I spent $46,300 or 15 Ethereum for a PNG file of a gray pet rock. I think it could end up being one of the best investments
nothing impressive
I make since getting into crypto. Yeah.
And there's nothing impressive about that rock. Just like, I mean, other than, but it's created in people's minds, the value. I've seen the Mona Lisa, and I've heard,
I did too. Did you go to the Louvre?
No, I haven't seen it in person. But
my bad. No. My bad. Because I was going to say, because we went when I was in the Navy. We went and drank our way through the Louvre and went to see the Mona Lisa. Yeah, went to the Mona Lisa and we're literally standing there like, why does it, like, all of this art in there, none of which was my favorite, but there was clearly more elaborate and beautiful work in there. And then you finally make your way through this maze of a museum, and this was the only thing that had a crowd around it. You peek your way through the crowd, and I was just like, what is the big deal here? Like, what
the painting is not that great and the woman is not that attractive. Okay. Yeah, and so
all of that.
I don't know, people say it might have been Michelangelo himself. He painted himself and all of whatever. The case is not all that impressive. But the value that's attached to it will the perception when people look at it, because it's the perception has been so created. People will look at it and say, "Oh, that's beautiful." No, it's not. It's not beautiful at all.
It's wholly unimpressive. So I was just like, anyway. But okay, so that's in some ways that was all just an intro to or a part one to what I also wanted us to get to, because as I've increasingly been paying attention to this crypto issue, I've been just like we started with, I've been increasingly noticing the way that the crypto industry invites pop culture to promote it. And even in the clip where Tory Lanez is saying this is going to teach you how it all works, they don't even say what NFTs are in that clip. They don't even explain. So it's clear that there's a lack of clarity. And what I was seeing, even people were doing YouTube videos making fun of Tory, saying, how you gonna make money if you're only selling it for $1 and someone else is making money for selling it for $6 million. And they're missing the whole point, that he does get paid off of each transaction. And all of that to me is irrelevant, because as I and others have been arguing for a long time, the music industry has only ever evolved specifically around Blackness and Black people to negatively impact Black communities through the promotion of anti-Black, anti-progressive, anti-thoughtful, anti-redistributionist ideas. So this is just yet another example of the industry. You can say he's free of the music industry, but he's connected to the crypto industry, which is backed and funded and run and benefiting all by the same group. So it was fascinating. That's why I wanted to start with the bravado and the excitement in his Instagram and YouTube post, and then show in the news clip who he's really working with and what they're really all about, and then to come to this, which is you and I have addressed these folks in oh wait, that's the wrong one. In another way, in another in another show. But here we are back again with OneUnited Bank's Black Crypto League.
Is that like the Justice League?
That's what I was gonna say. The Black Crypto League.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right. Yeah, I know all of that.
Crypto League.
Right. I'm trying to picture them standing there with their capes and like posing and whatnot. Like, and so first of all, again, what do they say here? I went over this briefly the other day on the remix, but just to come back to it, what are they saying here? It's time we built our own league, a space where we can recoup the generations of wealth lost to the hands of slavery, Jim Crow, unequal housing, and many more factors. We are building revolutionary ways of existing and excelling, from claiming our one transaction to restoring Black Wall Street. The Black financial revolution is here. Okay. So again, as I just had a really strong conversation yesterday with a brother who is a good brother, but it works within this community. And part of the discussion was, I'm not an anti-technology guy. I'm not an anti-Black business guy. I'm not an anti-even reparations guy. What I am is an anti-you telling me that this is a revolution for us all guy. That's the guy I am. So as we had this conversation, this was the point that his argument, I think, represented and promoted by the folks we see here, is simply that Bitcoin, blockchain, cryptocurrency, broadly speaking, and blockchain are technologies that are new to the world, that are going to revolutionize the relationships that we have, that will, again, here bring about a financial revolution. And what I'm ultimately saying is, I don't want a financial revolution. I want political power. I want freedom. I want liberation. So folks like this, even ones who are well-intentioned, are offering a technological solution to a political problem. And that's why we're not getting anywhere with any of this. And as I also pointed out in our discussion, if and I was borrowing from the work, I always start honestly with Harold Innis. Speaking of Canadians, Tory Lanez, Harold Innis was a Canadian scholar like Marshall McLuhan, both of whom I was introduced to in grad school. And I appreciate that introduction despite my grad school experience. But because Harold Innis was one of the earliest, and I thought, one of the strongest to argue that throughout human history, so-called advances in technology run parallel with consolidation of power. So technology has never expanded or redistributed power, despite popular claims. It has never occurred. And I'm going to come back to that point before we wrap, but I just wanted to start with a little bit of who's in, as they say here, who is part of this movement, and then we'll go from there. But go ahead. Did you have something you wanted to jump in with? No.
I mean, other than the fact that there's always a new thing. At one point, we thought it was education. Another point, we thought it was politics, but not politics in terms of ideology, but more just like conventional politics, electoral politics, and now and of course at various points we thought it was about economics. We just got to do that. Now this is just a new phase of the economic argument. So it's always something different, but at the same time, to your point, it always ultimately just really reifies the system that we're living in, and not necessarily because none of those things were revolutionary. That the education was not revolutionary. It was a colonial education, and which created a colonial, mentality. Shout out to Fela. The politics were not revolutionary. That's why they gave us. That's why we ended up with people like Obama and people like that. And of course the economics weren't revolutionary. That's why we ended up with all of these black, wannabe black capitalists who only exploit their people and not build up a system where we share the wealth. So again, this is just another aspect, and the scary part about this is that it actually posits itself as a collective type of endeavor.
That's my point.
Yeah.
That is my only real gripe, and that's where I feel, you know, like as people say, the battery is put in my back, because that's the point. You know, whatever your individual thing is cool up to a point, but once you start saying that this is what we need and will get us free, I start getting, you know. But anyway, but before I might come back to it, because some of the specifics of who the people are is a little bit interesting, but essentially they're just looking to take advantage of the cottage industry. One sister comes out and has a relationship, or had a relationship, with the Obama administration. Others are coming out of sort of the entrepreneurial thing,
and that's all you need.
Books.
That's all you need. All you need is say you worked for the Obama administration, and automatically, bam. I mean, the Negroes voted for what's his name, Rahm Emanuel in Chicago, simply because he was with Obama. And then you see what happened there.
Yeah. But so this was also something that I mentioned on the remix. I wanted to come back to with a little more time and care, so to speak, because this is indicative of the bad analysis, interpretation, the false reporting, all of the kind of stuff around the issue of buying power that I've been talking about for a long time. And I'm just, and sort of amazed at the way it kind of re-emerges with such consistency. But as it says here, what could be a melanated utopia with the potential to unshackle our economic might. $1 to $1.5 trillion worth of potential a year starts with understanding the basics. Like building blocks, we can start to understand these disruptive technologies and why they are essential to our rise. So again, using their own basic logic of building blocks and understanding the basics, we need to understand, and I unfortunately need to show that they are fundamentally misinterpreting and starting from an entirely flawed, if not fraudulent, base. So this whole thing of the $1 to $1.5 trillion worth of potential a year. So at first I was like, that sounds familiar. That sounds like another slick way of getting around the buying power concept without saying buying power. And I admit, in moments of ego, I'd like to think that it's trying to avoid my attention and argument, that they might have started switching up the language, but I was wrong. And the reason I was wrong on that, and why my ego needs to constantly be checked, and I will, in this case, shout out the Roots.
What?
You know, for
you shouting out the house band?
The ego, you know what I mean? You know, by the way, I just saw, oh my God, I was gonna play it today. Maybe I will later if y'all want to, but I if we have time. But it's a couple years old now, but when Juice, the freestyle legend Juice, did a freestyle that I had missed, and he said he worked it in there that Black Thought was claiming his freestyles, but they're written. And I was like, whoa, that's a woof. Anyway,
okay.
That would hurt if that was true. But anyway, but when you click the link,
would that minimize the impact of the freestyle? I guess as a freestyle,
it would absolutely, yeah. Because especially that legendary one we got from, what was it, Sway's show or one of those shows?
No, that was
going around Breakfast Club.
No, it wasn't Breakfast Club. It was Power 97. What's his name? The other DJ.
Envy.
No.
Envy. No.
What's
the other
name?
one?
Funk Flex.
Funk Master Flex. That's right. That's right. By the way, there is speaking of the Breakfast Club, I actually forgot that there is someone that I know who knows Charlemagne has assured me that Charlemagne intends to interview me at some point. So I wonder if that would be true, and I wonder how that would go. But But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. I said, okay, well, I'll look out for the whatever. But anyway, I thought that's what I said. I thought that's interesting. Okay, but when you click the link to,
You're gonna try to make you the donkey of the day, bro.
Well, you know, that's why I'm wondering how it would go and
Yeah.
what all of our reactions would be and all of that, you know, and what's so have you, etc. and so forth. But hey, but you know what? Look, I mean, I think, you know, honestly, I think, you know, given sort of how I've placed myself, so to speak, and I did, you know, write about it. If I get invited, I gotta go. I think that's kind of how I think about it. But anyway, so but when you click, the reason this was so fascinating to me when I first saw that phrase was, and why it rang a bell, was because it clicks to this link, this page here, which I had read and in fact referenced in my own work. And I referenced it specifically to check what is being done again by OneUnited Bank. I'll explain. If you read here, entrepreneurship and business ownership, particularly of community-based businesses, are crucial to develop community wealth for both business owners and the people they employ. By the way, McKinsey, this is a marketing group. It's an international marketing group, an investment group, and which is sort of important, and we can come back to that but their point here is to encourage more investment just in general, but more investment in this argument in Black business. Anyway, so for business owners and the people they employ, healthy Black-owned businesses could be a critical component for closing the United States Black-white wealth gap, which we project will cost the economy $1 to $1.5 trillion in 2018 dollars per year by 2028. All right. So again, you have to read this carefully. This is not saying Black people have $1 to $1.5 trillion that they could use with greater financial literacy, blah, blah, blah. What it's saying is investing in Black-owned businesses could help close the Black-white wealth gap by supporting, because it takes out of the consumption of the economy $1 to $1.5 trillion, which they project would be an annual cost. So in other words, two things are happening here. They are rebranding the buying power concept
Without saying it.
But this was happening before my book came out. So that's why I'm saying I had to check my ego, because I referenced this story. So I'm saying this was already
before
happening.
your book came out, but you had for several years been making that argument.
Okay,
though.
There we go. The ego's right back up there. Right on.
5 to
there
6,
it is.
7, 10 years maybe you've been making
Well,
that
it was
same
almost
argument
10
for a
years,
long
but
time.
yeah, but you're right. But you're right. So there it is. Ego's right back up. Okay.
Yes, I'm just trying to boost you up, man.
But the other thing that they're doing is being honest about what buying power actually is, which is not economic strength for Black people or any other group. It is what it represents in value to those who own the economy, because at 70% of the economy, that is the U.S. economy, consumption drives everything. So they're not saying you're strong to become an economic or certainly a political power. They're saying you're strong in or relatively strong in an ability to fund and contribute and prop up
to make us richer,
the economy, and in some cases, some small Black businesses, or a small amount of Black businesses. So, as I was trying to say, as I wrote, as discussed, Black buying power is not about any real strength among Black people. It is a reflection of Black impact on producing wealth for the economy that is red white elites. And this is where I quote this exact study. According to a recent report, the widening racial wealth gap disadvantages Black families, individuals, and communities and limits Black citizens' economic power and prospects, and the effects are cyclical. Such a gap contributes to intergenerational economic precariousness. Almost 70% of middle-class Black children are likely to fall out of the Black middle class as adults, other than the obvious impact negative impact on the development of Black individuals and communities. The racial wealth gap also constrains the U.S. economy as a whole. It is estimated that its dampening effect on consumption and investment will cost the U.S. economy between $1 trillion and $1.5 trillion between 2019 and 2028, 4 to 6% of the projected GDP in 2028, end quote. So again, what I was trying to preempt what is being done here by OneUnited Bank yet again in projecting falsely that buying power or what are they calling here? Impact on the economy is somehow an economic strength. So the report itself is more honest than what is picked up here by OneUnited Bank and its rebranding of all of this as something that is going to be part of the Black financial revolution.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
man. I mean, it's the remix. They got their own remix, and there it is. I mean, you got it. You know, it's like right now you start to see like all of these old cartoons and these old TV shows becoming movies. You know, because Hollywood has run out of ideas. They run out of ideas, man. It's like, but we're gonna remix this stuff. You know, this is the remix. All we need is Diddy to come out and with one of them shiny suits on, or maybe Mama's Biscuits around that same time. You know, coming out,
I'm trying to tell
doing
you,
their thing, representing. And we just having the whole new, or maybe Diddy working with Mama's Biscuits, and remixing the biscuits. Now, see, look at that remix.
We were too real for Diddy.
Biscuit batter. That's that's where we got something. And then you can sell it with some NFTs and all of that, and bam. See, look, I'm figuring this out on the go, brother. I'm sorry, go ahead.
We were too real for Diddy, but again, the greatest funk band in Western Maryland, 1997, 1999. But speaking of remix, this is sort of, again, as we just fade into this last segment of this issue. This millennial bought Ebony and Jet for $14 million with plans to bring the magazines into the digital era, as reported just a couple of weeks ago. Eden Bridgman has been busy overseeing a launch and makeover of two of the most iconic and respected magazines to cover Black America. Bridgman told Business Insider that she studied Ebony magazines since she was a young girl, flipping through the glossy pages and reading up on musical, political icons. These were our superstars, the people driving the culture, Bridgman, 34, told the news outlet. Founded in 1945 by John Johnson, Ebony struggled under declining advertisements, financial troubles, and controversy a few years ago. It was quite a shift from the magazine's heyday when Ebony and sister magazine Jet were the go-to publications for people interested in reading about Black culture, notable Black leaders, and issues impacting Black people. The company eventually filed for bankruptcy, and by 2019, both Ebony and Jet had stopped printing. This was an opportunity for Bridgman and her father, former NBA player and entrepreneur Ulysses Jr. Bridgman, to discuss the magazine with the family to gauge interest in purchasing. They came up with $14 million. It began talking with Michelle Gee, a former executive at CNN and BET, about serving as CEO, and they relaunched on March 1st. Ebony's new mission is to be bold, brilliant, and beloved. Both magazines are now fully digital with no plans on reprinting physical copies. According to Business Insider, Ebony has at least a dozen people on staff. Bridgman's role has been all-encompassing, from calls with advertisers to meetings with potential partners and magazine contributors. You have to understand every aspect within the business, Bridgman told BI. You show up in a way that people feel they can approach you. They feel that they can work with you, not just for you. Bridgman's strategy has seen her touting the power of the Black dollar to potential advertisers. And that's the line.
That's how you do it.
You are going to want to tap into that power, she tells them, according to Business Insider.
Which means,
so again, speaking of remix, go ahead. Yep.
No, that means at the end of the day that Ebony will never be what Ebony used to be when Ebony was Ebony, because when you are chasing those advertising dollars, when you're courting advertisers, when you are upfront about basically your thirsting after advertisers, then you already know that they're going to be calling the shots, and you're not going to see any more of those powerful Ebony issues where Lerone Bennett talked about the fact that politics wasn't going to save us, and that he talked about the end of Reconstruction, during Reconstruction, and then how easily power was seized from us because politics wasn't the answer. It was power. Which was the chapter that he left out of the book Black Power USA. It was the missing chapter that many people had surmised that should have been at the end of his book Black Power USA. He put it in Ebony magazine in 1981. It was like 40 years ago already. So, when we're looking at this, we're seeing that you're not going to have that kind of a powerful media source, which is needed right now. What you're going to have is more fluff. You're going to have more celebrity news, more gossip, and ultimately more pushing things like crypto, because that's kind of like the next frontier when it comes to tapping some of this money that's out here. You're going to start seeing things like that in Ebony magazine as well, if it's not already there already. The secret of selling the Negro.
Well, so it's interesting, I think to a certain extent, I agree that there were certainly pockets in the history of those magazines where, as you point out, some progressive, even militant, even radical things were happening. But in general, she's following the playbook laid down by John H. Johnson. So this is, of course, the Selling the Negro documentary that he put together to promote selling to white corporations, advertising space in his magazines. I'm sorry?
There was a magazine called Tan. Did that say Tan? Selling Ebony.
I think
Tan
so.
And
yeah. Yep.
Wow, they had a tan magazine. I guess some people didn't want to be too ebony. Honestly, they wanted to be tan.
I gotta check with Dr. Burroughs about that one. He would know that particular history, or get my man Dr. Fenderson.
No, that's the guy from Tan right there.
That might be him. No, actually, this guy is actually this is actually a white executive whose name I do mention in the book, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because it's in here that you get sort of the launching of the buying power concept, spoken through the mouth of then Secretary of Commerce Meeks. And the point is, as they say, we got to get the black dollar into white businesses, and we can do that by advertising to black audiences through black outlets like Ebony and Jet, etc. And what Fenderson wrote, he wrote a whole book, but what I quote from him in relation to this issue and the history of this particular film is that, quote, for Johnson and others within the black elite, racism was not a problem that was endemic to American society. Instead, it was a temporary shortcoming that could be overcome through expanded interracial understanding, genteel public comportment, and veritable desegregation of the free market. In order for this to happen, though, white economic power brokers had to be made aware of the gold mine in their backyard. From Johnson, these influential businessmen needed to learn the secret of selling the Negro and recognize that they stood to benefit from the full incorporation and unrestricted participation of African Americans in the American free market. Johnson assured white corporate interests that capitalist competition and robust consumerism were good for everybody, even African Americans suffering the heel of Jim Crow.
Just looking at this little propaganda piece they got here, they're basically trying to sell these people, black people, as being just like, see, we just like y'all. They're really misrepresenting the wealth disparities among black folk, because most black folks in those days were not living like that.
And exactly, and I'm not running the audio, but the audio, they're saying exactly what you're saying. The audio is saying, look, black people save their money. They're not irresponsible. They do work hard. They do want middle-class values. It's literally saying exactly what you're saying, painting a completely unrealistic picture of both the economic condition, and I would argue probably the broader political aspirations of the time. I don't think, I think there was at least more of there was more resistance to this than I think is being given credit. But anyway, and it's like saying, look at the white neighbor. You don't have to be scared of black people coming into your community, and you certainly don't have to be scared of advertising with them because they pay their bills on time. Yeah, that's it. They pay their bills on time. all of that stuff. They're frugal with their checkbooks, all of that kind of stuff. So anyway, so I'll just leave that there for now. But I just wanted to just make that point once again, that the same tactics are coming right back around. And as you said, it's remix. That's it. So
this is the remix.
Now,
hey, look, man, look, but I'm just saying,
go ahead.
even KRS-One had Diddy on the track, though. I'm just saying. I mean, so
I know
y'all can maybe try it.
But that's,
I'm just saying.
But what I'm saying, but that's KRS-One. He can withstand a mistake here to, as great as we were, we were never at KRS level. So I don't know that we could withstand that kind of, we could get there though. We're on our way. Now this is one of the, I put this link in the, in the show notes for anyone to follow up if they like, but just one example. There are others that people could grab, but when we were talking about this, as I was saying with the brother around crypto and technology, the point I was just trying to make, simply put, was, because at one point he said something like, technology can be used, in ways the master may not have intended and in ways that might benefit us. And he said, look at the fact that we're using smartphones to have this conversation, this very radical, alternative, whatever conversation. And I said, I appreciate that, except that my point is, for me, it's not necessary to speculate as to whether technology, new or otherwise, can be used to liberate us, because over the last several decades, with an increase in communication technology and technology broadly speaking, the gap between rich and poor, the gap between black and white has widened. So there have been more wars, more surveillance, more police killings, an increase in carceral situations, if not formal traditional mass incarceration. There's been, look at where we are in the world. We cannot argue that technology is advancing us. And going back to what I said about Harold Innis and others, the work has been done. Starting, as he says, with the Gutenberg Bible. It consolidated the power of the version of the Bible of the day, mass produced it as the first mass produced book, and assured that Christianity would get a leg up in competition with any other worldview, as it had the dominant form of mass communication. It led to a consolidation of power, not a redistribution of power, and on, and here we are today. So if we just look at some of this, and go ahead.
Gunpowder, the same thing. I mean, gunpowder was recreational at first, and they turned it into something that was destructive. I mean, so.
And essentially, there are a number of interesting pieces to this, but the essential point, the gaps in income between upper income and middle and lower income households are rising, and the share held by middle income households is falling. So if you look at the share of all the aggregate income in the United States since 1970, what's interesting here is that the bottom 10% have stayed consistent. There's been a slight devolve, a slight, backward slide, but basically stayed consistent. The upper decile, I believe they broke it down to the top decile or quintile of the population, went up from 29% of total U.S. aggregate income to now 48%, which is the dominant by now. Whereas the middle income, as it was described, and this is all races, all backgrounds, so this is not even talking specifically about black or anybody else, went from 62 down to 43% of the total aggregate income. So again, just generally speaking, even in a white supremacist society, even for white folks, there was a consolidation of wealth among the most elite over the time since the 1970s. So that, for me, without even getting into other details, what partly led to what happened on January 6th.
Absolutely, is that these people, obviously we know they were already horrible people anyway. So let's not kid ourselves. But in addition to that, they're seeing that their jobs are being taken. They're seeing that the jobs are just disappearing or moving overseas and all of this. Of course, they're going to blame, obviously us, because I mean, why would they blame their own?
That's
But
right.
but at the same time, that's basically what they're seeing, and these are acts of desperation. I was just looking at this piece I was going to share today about the gig workers now, and they're trying to, I guess, trying to get some rights for some of the gig workers now, trying to get health care and things like that. There's some moves on that, I believe, like in New York or somewhere like that. But the gig worker phenomenon is in and of itself a reflection of what you just shared, and the fact that they're going to try to extract as much work as possible without giving you anything back in return, and then posit it again in this false empowerment, like you're your own boss. You got your own company. You're an entrepreneur.
You're an entrepreneur. That's right. You're your own boss. Look, anyway, so yeah, just a couple of but yeah, so that for me is a wrap on that. So like I just want to, this is why I keep saying, like, we can enjoy technology, we can encourage technology, we just can't, it's not going to level the playing field. So I just got this sent. Dr. Hate in the building. We were joking about Obama's birthday party, and this is pretty cold right here. Obama's guest list to his birthday bash reads like a mirrored version of Epstein's flight logs. Oof. Yikes. Brutal. That was pretty good. Anyway, just shout out to a couple other things, and then we can come back to anything, answer some questions. We could even, I got a couple straggling pieces we can get to, but a couple things that I definitely wanted to make reference to that I've come across, thankfully, is what is happening tonight at Howard University. A sit out protesting the housing crisis at Howard University, which of course is fascinating, particularly at this given moment, with all of the love that has been poured on Howard with the arrival of Kamala Harris in the White House, and
Nicole
Hannah Jones and Felicia Rashad.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
that. And just a lot of attention. But apparently there are some concerns. So support Howard University students as they organize student action.
So you mean with all
Friday,
the money
August 27th? Yep. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
That includes a sit-in, sleep, camp out to protest the HU Board of Trustees decision to eliminate seats. I don't know much about that. I don't know anything about that. That's interesting. They are also taking a stand against the student homeless issue. Howard's participation in gentrification has pushed so many students so far off campus they cannot afford to live in and around Howard University any longer. Students are in need of support in forms of physical presence and participation in this action. Numbers of students, alumni, and faculty need to show up with tents, masks, etc. They will need water, food, snacks, and 2 porta potties. So if you can help, please do. That is tonight at the corner of Howard Place, Northwest DC, and Georgia Avenue, across from the Banneker Pool, a very familiar spot to many of us. And that's starting at 7 o'clock. And then anyone who is there and wants to contribute to my Not a Different World project, please contact me, because it sounds like there will be plenty to say. And anyway, I wish them well. Anyway, what were you going to say? Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, I was just, we mentioned Nicole Hannah Jones and Felicia Rashad, and I'm pretty sure that they're not coming at a small price tag, and yet, we can't get housing, at the Mecca. At the Mecca, it's pilgrims are not getting proper, housing. That of course, there's been a long-standing issue there at Howard. I remember a couple of years ago they got flooded out. A lot of students lost housing that way and stuff, and the infrastructure is just horrendous there. And they're right next to a water filtration kind of spot. It's like a water, I don't know, it's some kind of water filtration type of facility that they're right next to. I mean, it's like right across the street. If you go to the backside of Howard, you know, that place back there.
That
So
what is that? I should know what
like
that is. How many
it's
times
some
we've
kind
been
of,
around that joint?
it's you pass it all the time and don't even think about it, but it's something
right in
dealing with
between the
water.
VA and the children's hospitals right over there. Yeah,
Yep, and Washington Hospital Center, all that. Yeah, so it's that's a long-standing issue. So you would think that at a prestigious university, or at least a black university that advertises itself as such, would have, you know, adequate housing for the students. But I think housing has always been an issue for a lot of HBCUs in terms of the students. You know, so that's a sad situation for the young folks, and I wish them well.
Yeah. And as I'm putting in the chat now, want to also just remind folks that Sister Katia Stitt still needs our support. Again, that number seems to have plateaued. So please, if you can give something and encourage others to do so, because once again, she may not be known to you, but if you needed another example, she represents one of the many.
Name right there.
Oh, do you? Where in the chat somewhere?
No, right there on Katia's medical fund on that page you're showing there.
Oh yeah. Oh, right on. You're right. Deborah Rodriguez. Shout out to Deborah Rodriguez.
Shout out.
Appreciate that. Right on. And to Patricia too. I don't know Patricia, but shout out to Patricia.
Nah, forget about Patricia. We can shout out.
Wow,
no, I'm just joking. I'm joking, Patricia. Don't come for me.
No, I mess with
you.
Balls
said that, by the way. My mouth was just
no, yeah, right. But again, I mean, seriously, like for folks, you know, like, yeah, I know we know many of them, they do all the work, they don't get any attention, they don't want any attention, but they need some in moments like this. So please, if you can, drop a couple dollars and or at least share the link and encourage others to do so. Okay, so there is, you know what, since we do have time.
Well, while you're getting that together, I wanted to just briefly comment on the Afghanistan situation, because I just find that to be a fascinating situation just altogether. And we talk about money and funds, and you know, and y'all mentioned the other day, I think that they spent $2 trillion in the 20 years.
That's right.
Since
$300 million a day
war has been ongoing, knowing full well that they were not going to win. You know, it's like that Adrian quote from Rocky: "You can't win." You know, they knew they were never going to win.
But that is the win.
It's money grab, just every day, just money, just extracted every single day. Meanwhile, there was a story, several school districts in America, including some right here in the DC area, are actually paying parents to drive their children to school, because they have a shortage of bus drivers, like in several districts all over America, and certainly quite a few. I know there's one in Pittsburgh and a couple here in the DC area, like I mentioned, and in Delaware and some other places. And this is
and the aggregate of paying parents is less than hiring another driver. Is that
I guess that's the rationale. But basically what they're saying is that, you know, they're not going to put any kind of investment. They're not investing in the children, because education is really, it's a moot, you know, idea at this particular point, because they don't really need you. They don't need workers anymore, the way that they had before. You know, you may recall, we're probably old enough. I think my school was the last school to have, or my class was the last to have like home ec and shop class. You know, like, you know, men used to know how to fix cars, like, you know, we learned that, they learned that in school, like, you know, back in the
at least some of it. I didn't quite learn out all that, but they did put tools in our hands and make us build stuff and all that kind of stuff. I remember that,
to work for the auto industry, for all these different industries, the tire, all of that, to prepare us for jobs. And we've seen resources being taken from schools, you know, just this over the years. They took the music away, they take all these things away, and yet all this money is pouring into the military industrial complex, where a lot of those people who used to be able to get skills to get jobs don't have the skills to get jobs, but they do have the human capital that is necessary to fuel the military, where all the money is going to the military instead of actually investing into them. And I can
How
remember
about that?
one of the things that really shook me up and really kind of woke me up when I went to the military was they would. I remember we were doing like gas masks. And we you know, you remember you did the gas mask thing. You learn how to put the gas mask on and all that, and they put you in there, and then you got to be exposed to the gas, and everybody's going crazy and snot and everything coming all out. It's crazy. Another reason to not join the military. But I remember when
I
they
remember
were
that day vividly. Yeah.
they said, well, if we ever in a case when we experience a military attack, you know, if the lowest person on in we're trying to detect whether or not a chemical attack, chemical biological attack, and we're trying to figure out whether or not the agent is still there present, then the lowest ranking person is going to have to be the one to take off their mask and basically test the environment. I was like, what?
Sure. I would like to see that play out in real time.
They were like, yeah, that's gonna be. So they were like, well, you realize that you are a GI. You know what GI means, right? And I was like, what? Government issue. You are a tool of the government. And I was like, oh, okay, I got you. I ain't staying here long. And I knew it. I mean, I already wasn't, but I definitely knew at that particular point. But anyway, we're expendable to go to places like Afghanistan and die. And the funny thing is, in the news, they have all these people, all these veterans. Now, for the first time in my life, I've seen veterans being asked what their opinions are. All of a sudden, these veterans of Afghanistan, oh, I feel like I've wasted my time. I lost my arm. I lost my soldiers and my brothers and my sisters in Afghanistan because nobody ever asked the opinion of military people until now, because the media is so on board with this whole thing. And trying,
because usually they're telling those people to be quiet and follow orders. They don't want your opinion.
And don't show the caskets coming back. They didn't show the caskets coming back, you know, but they want to talk about the same caskets of the people that these folks are now claiming to be so upset about fighting and dying, and these people dying in vain. They didn't show those caskets coming back, but now it's okay to talk about the people, you know. So it just shows you the hypocrisy of the media in general. And this is across the board, left and right. They all agree on the fact that they believe the United States should still stay in Afghanistan. But one of the things that I thought about with this Afghanistan pullout was the end of Reconstruction. I mentioned it earlier. Reconstruction. You know, they had to know that the Taliban was going to be right on cue as soon as they came up out of there. Just like with the compromise of 1877, they knew that, you know, as soon as they pulled the Union troops from the South, that, you know, white folks was going to go back to normal, you know, after 12 years or whatever, just like after 20 years here. And so, you know, I just found that to be an interesting, you know, turn of events. And then I saw in another piece, and this is the last thing, as I heard Biden, just a little bit of him talking about, you know, we're going to hunt you down and this and that. And I'm always wondering, like, what happened to all this nonviolence? Why not? They always telling us to be nonviolent and not be vengeful. But when somebody does something to them, all of a sudden, you know, we're going to get you back. We're going to hunt you down, you know.
The $300 million a day that was spent in Afghanistan got to get spent somewhere else. So the people were in his ear telling him, you better get you know, they put the battery in his back and started, you know, telling him to get redirected, which is actually where I thought we could go real quick, because I did see a very interesting interview on the Gray Zone the other day with this brother here, Elias Amare, a journalist, talking about the Eritrean Ethiopian conflict. And there's this little piece of this that relates exactly to the point that you're making that I just want to play here real quick. Obviously, it's a longer interview and well worth the attention, but because it starts off with him talking about the propaganda in the U.S. press about what's been going on over there. But just check out this little clip, and it worked out perfectly. You set us up perfectly. Check it out.
Africa, as you pointed out before, Ben, is a very
the Horn of Africa
in terms of geostrategy. Like you said, the Red Sea is there, the choke point Bab el Mandeb in the south, and the Suez Canal in the north. 40% of the oil from the Gulf region to Europe passes through this. It's a very busy trade route. So I believe earlier you were saying about when talking about geopolitics with Pepe, you were saying whoever controls Eurasia controls the world. In this regard, I can say whoever controls the Horn of Africa also controls Africa. It is a bridge with the Middle East. It's you know, the Red Sea, the Indian Ocean is there. vital resources are there.
And sorry to interrupt, Elias, but I think we should just mention here quickly that China's first foreign military base is in the center of that map in Djibouti.
Right next door to Camp Lemonnier.
Exactly, and that's an obvious issue of concern for the U.S.
Yes, the U.S. base is there, France, everybody is there. In Djibouti, that tiny...
I love how they phrase that.
You know, state right there in the corner.
So I want to stop it there. But I love, and I just want to leave that there for a quick second, because I love how they phrase that. And I know, look, I really appreciate the Gray Zone for the work that they do. I think this is, it's an interesting, and I don't even know if he meant it this way, but the way I hear it is the focus or the subject or the frame of reference. So for Max, it's saying, this Chinese military base in Djibouti, East Africa, is a problem primarily for the United States. Now, on the one hand, it's funny to me about maybe a bias of perspective, but on the other hand, it's an accurate assessment given the fact that that's the home base, or at least a major base of operations for AFRICOM and U.S. control of the African continent. But anyway, I just thought that this was very interesting because in light of what you were just saying, Kaba, in light of what they're all talking about here, what is at issue is where are the next conflicts going to be? And if China's moving into East Africa, if the U.S. is already there feeling threatened and already feels like it needs to be there, if you talk about military and flashbacks. I spent so much time in the Red Sea. I'm getting PTSD just looking at this map. But the importance geostrategically of this region, and then I also just think again about traditional or not traditional, but ancient history and the connection of what we call the Middle East, or was as Dr. Clark and them used to say, East Africa. But you can really see that on display right here. But anyway, any reaction to any of that? Any thoughts? I thought that was just an interesting.
Well, I mean, also with what I heard was, it's not just us; it's the Browns. There's some brown people doing it too. So,
that's interesting.
So because they always try to deflect, and I agree with you. I'm for the most, on many aspects, I agree with a lot of what the Gray Zone has to offer. Their analysis, some of it I agree with. But of course,
everybody has their blind spots.
Everybody has theirs, which is why we need to, make sure that we cover our own, in spaces like this. And then the last thing, just about, and I just remembered something about what's going on in Afghanistan is I heard somebody say, one of these news people say, the terror attacks in Afghanistan. I'm like, that's pretty wild, and because you talk about framing and how that question was framed, or that statement was framed, and it's like, wow, right. Like you can come to my house and I'm gonna fight you, whether I'm right or wrong, it's still my house. Whether I'm good or bad, it's still my house. And if I fight you for being in my house, I'm a terrorist. So it's just amazing how these people, the entitlement is just, they don't even think about it. It's just like, it's just second nature. It's amazing.
I love how this is not planned and is working out perfectly, because one of the other things I had thought we might get to is the latest from Dr. Joy James. Shout out to Black Myths Podcast and their recent engagement with the dear sister. And I put the link to this in the show notes as well, because it's pretty, I just like the way her mind works, and I like the way the politics of this works. And so as she writes in here, I'm just going to skip ahead just a little bit. She writes, quote, and I think perfectly in line with what you were just talking about. Let's see, I got it in my notes. Let me see if I could just show it on the screen here as fast as I pulled it up in the notes. It's just a little bit. There we go. The dominant algorithm for anti-racism and contemporary. I mean, first of all, what she's doing here is explaining, I think, in a brilliantly nuanced way, in a better way than I have, obviously. But a point that I keep trying to make about the moment we're in is that and even as we talked about earlier, and you even made the point today, Kaba, that so we're all on the same page on this, that in this moment, we are more likely to hear discussion of problems that this society faces than at any other point in this society's history. But the frame or the interpretation or the brand put on that discussion is where a lot of the radicalism and the critique and the nuance gets lost. So as she says here, as she's talking about the algorithm that drives this discussion. So I really obviously encourage people to read the piece and get the full, that I'm not able to do with it here. But she writes, the dominant algorithm for anti-racism and contemporary abolitionism are traceable to 18th century abolitionism. In Tacky's Revolt, the story of an Atlantic slave war, historian Vincent Brown notes, slaveholders cited Black militancy as a justification for their brutality. In response, late 18th century abolitionists would rally around the image of a kneeling supplicant begging to be recognized as a man and a brother, as if the condemnation of the evil required the meek innocence of its victims. That icon of abjection has shaped the prevailing understanding of bondage and race to this day. Some 200,000 Black Americans fought in the Civil War. The dominant algorithm rejects analyses of slavery as actual war, not a metaphor for war. Analyses of white supremacy and captivity as war extend to post-bellum lynching, convict prison lease system, sharecropping, COINTELPRO, and mass incarceration. The terror is a technique of warfare and functions within asymmetrical war. Example, U.S. funded Contras. So there's obviously more, and I'd like to come back to it, but just very quickly, as I'm trying to connect some of these dots with when the rebranding of the contemporary moment or discussion of struggle, of what people in struggle should do in response, is to do what she describes there in the earlier versions of abolitionism, where even as Dhoruba bin Wahad, and it got me in trouble for in an interview some years ago, because his argument was that Amy Goodman and Angela Davis having a discussion about Assata Shakur and Alice Walker being a part of the discussion, saying that Assata is innocent, is exactly the problem that Joy James is describing here. He's saying, don't say she's innocent, because it takes away her conscious agency as a member of an organized, army or resistance that
it
knew
delegitimizes struggle. It delegitimizes struggle for Black people against oppression. That's what it does. And one of the the first sentence that you read, slaveholders cited Black militancy as a justification for their brutality. That right there nixes the whole notion that we were these compliant, demure, just weak people that just took it. Like, we fought, and this is 18th century. We're talking about the 1700s. Okay,
that's right.
Just to be clear.
That's right. No, that's a great point. And as Dhoruba was pointing out, it takes away the agency and the conscious intent of the people who were there. And then, as he also pointed out, he said Assata was a better shot than him. He was like, I trained her, and she was better than me.
I was like, wow. When I heard that, I was like, wow.
I was like, yeah. And so
women tend to be better shots too.
Yeah, anyway,
just generally speaking, that from what I've seen, now this is anecdotal, but and there may be some research. Why not? But women tend to be better shots.
Hey, I'd be up for that research, and why not? Why not? I was always terrible with the pistol. For some, I can't get the pistol thing together at all. I would miss you 5 feet in front of me, but I was pretty good with a rifle, and everybody's good with a shotgun, and everybody's good with a 50 cal machine gun, which was
Stevie Wonder be good with that one. Shout out to Stevie Andrew.
Shout out to Stevie. As she continues, the dominant algorithm of anti-racism airbrushes war. Thus, rebellions become protests that can be resolved in the dominant algorithm rather than revolutionary struggles that require the rewriting of the algorithm of anti-racism. Man, the popularized algorithm elevates passive Black suffering over Black militancy and resistance, and thus has stymied the development of an algorithm of community defense from violence of civilians or police. prominent abolitionists lived among and fought with the Black working class and laboring poor, those most vulnerable to poverty, captivity, and violent death. Today, the wealth of Black elites and concept of Black success under capitalism as Black power skew solidarity struggles as liberal hegemony and investment portfolios shape anti-racist politics and policies. Now, again, I would love to claim that I planned all of these segues and this brilliant conclusion to our discussion today, but I really didn't. It just worked out this way. But look at what she's saying. She's saying exactly what we've been talking about. No, we can't use crypto. We can't use NFTs. We can't use investment and speculation as substitutes for real struggle. And she's saying here, today, the wealth of Black elites and concept of Black success under capitalism as Black power skew solidarity struggles as liberal hegemony and investment portfolios shape anti-racist politics and policies. Derek Bell's interest convergence theory likewise argues that the U.S. civil rights gains progressed when compatible with the needs of elites. So again, I skipped a little bit there in what she was writing, but again, what we call progress has only been what has been seen as allowable or acceptable by those who are in power already, which is
and another piece that came to mind too was when we talk about the passivity. The point I made previously was all of these books that are coming out, like Akinyele Emoji's book, We Will Shoot Back. This nonviolent stuff will get you killed. Books on the Deacons for
Charlie
Defense
Cobb.
and other such books. It dismisses this myth too that, and I was certainly glad to hear this as a Southerner, because this notion that people in the South are just lazy, whatever. We didn't fight back. No, we fought back. As a matter of fact, there's stories of my own family of such fighting back that my family even kind of talks about in hushed tones. I'm like, no, you need to tell that story. We need to know that. We need to. That needs to be something that's prominent in our family. The statute of limitations is over. So and so is passed on, so we can talk about it now.
Hey, right on. I love all of those myths that I hear from even my own and other people's families that are, well, they're told as almost mythology, but really are very real or have a very real basis in them, at least. I also like what she does here, by the way, because she raises up Erica Gardner, rest in power. And says that although the radical Erica Garner is rarely mentioned in dominant platforms concerning BLM and Black women's leadership, the algorithm of anti-racism asserts Black feminist leadership as heir of past political rebellions. The algorithm's mandate for Black feminist leadership under scrutinizes ideology as a vector in the intersectionality it promotes. I thought that's a great line. And of course, she goes on to give examples of Black women who have participated in the Black colonial extraction and oppression of their communities under the guise of being Black feminists. And she just a couple more clips here. In the 21st century, we remain tethered to an 18th century algorithm, one not designed for revolutionary struggle or even Black freedom. Yet if the demand reflects the reforms advocated for Facebook, leave the behemoth intact, better regulated, but outside the control of disenfranchised communities, what are hatching is alien to our needs. And again, the beauty here in how we're wrapping up with this is perfect, because what she's saying in this piece, and let me scroll down, at least try to get this part on screen here, is that the reference to Facebook was a reference to a Color of Change campaign to put regulation on Facebook's promoting, the promotion of racism on Facebook. But James's point is that you're trying to limit the racism even as racist ads run on your own pages and your own campaigns. And then you're ultimately, as she's saying here, with campaigns like that are meant to be replacements, that are protests meant to be replacements for rebellion, she's saying, yet if the demand reflects the reforms advocated for Facebook, that is, if the broader political demand, whether it be, as she talks about, for gender equality or defunding the police, etc., if the demand reflects those simple reforms, that is, as she says, leave the behemoth intact, better regulated, but outside of the control of disenfranchised communities, what we are hatching is alien to our needs. And again, from our own argument, or my own argument today, this is exactly what I'm trying to argue, that all people are saying about investment and buying power and crypto, all they're ultimately talking about is leave the behemoth intact. That is the behemoth of capitalism, the behemoth of colonial extraction, the behemoth of of technological solution, and even banking to a certain extent, although crypto claims to be an alternative. But the idea of new technology and currency, you're leaving all of this intact. Even as it's claiming to be new technology, it's new technology grafted on to an already colonial relationship that is being dominated by that colonial relationship. So all that is being done is, as she says, leaving the behemoth intact, better regulated, maybe, I'm saying maybe, but outside the control of disenfranchised communities.
Mm-hmm.
What we're hatching is alien to our needs. So obviously, please click the link in the show notes and read the whole thing and get more from it than I'm probably able to give it. But man,
at some point we're
shout
gonna
out
have
to Dr. James.
At some point we're gonna see digital debt. There's gonna be people that's gonna have crypto debt, and they're gonna have to owe.
Wow.
You know, because they're gonna find a way to, because debt is a huge industry. So they're gonna find a way to make some money off. I guarantee that's probably gonna happen. I guarantee probably.
That's interesting.
But
that's an interesting point.
That piece also, you know, is a good refutation of one of these phrases and shirts that I really despise when I see it, and that is, "I am not my ancestors." I don't know. Some people may have seen those shirts, because it assumes it makes the you know the assumption
like they took it,
that they just took it and didn't fight. You know, our ancestors fought. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. You know, and again, you know, the image of Dr. King, you know, people not knowing that the man carried a gun himself, had armed people and all of that. So many of us, you know, in these circles already know that. But again, the narrative is that there was the above ground king, so to speak, as opposed to the underground king. Shout out to UGK down there in Port Arthur and PA.
Right on. Hey, listen, look, I appreciate you coming through again, man. I always have fun when we get to chop it up a little bit, and I thank you and all the folks out there watching live and those who will see it later. I really appreciate you coming through. Please click join, like, subscribe, the bell, and all that, and obviously come back on Monday for my show and check what's coming up over the weekend. I honestly don't even know. I need to get caught up. There's a lot of stuff coming out on the channel, so please enjoy it. And Brother Kaba, speaking of the channel, on your show Monday, you waded into those Kalanji Jamachanga waters on your show. How did that go, man? I caught some of it, and it sounded like you might make it through.
Yeah, man. Surprisingly, you know, it went extremely well. I was very surprised. The people surprisingly really enjoyed hearing the brother. I got a lot of calls after he left, and people just appreciating the contributions that he made. I didn't tell him that was because I sent him a whole bunch of bullet points that he could hit.
Right.
So,
and it's in limited doses. If you,
right.
It's in limited, you know, you gotta.
You have to manage it a little
doses.
bit. So to make sure. So so I made him look good. Not that I'm trying to take credit or anything, but I just, But no, it was a great program. We had a good time. This week we're gonna talk to some people who are raising some funds for our people in Haiti. I guess when the tragedy took place was at 2010, something like that. We also got together and raised some funds, and we had people that went directly there to Haiti. We raised funds and had people who are from Haiti go down there and directly dispense, funds and other, we had supplies and stuff too for our folks down there. So, and I apologize, I don't have the link, but if people, I'll tweet it at some point on my handles. Kaba Soul Singer and at African Deep 360, African with a K. I'll tweet those out so people can find out how they could help, because our people definitely need help down there. Haiti, you talk about resilient. You talk about our ancestors fighting. You know, that's a modern day example.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I definitely appreciate that, and please do encourage folks to check that out, and hope that they do. And did you?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say. No, I was gonna ask. Did you say what's coming? That's what's coming up on the show Monday.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about
okay.
for the most
Gotcha.
part. Is just trying to, and of course we can't raise money on PFW because it's a know, but we can.
That's why we're shouting. That's why we're that's why we're trying to get Katia Stitt help here. That's right.
Right. So unless we're raising money for the station, which we had to do a couple of weeks ago.
Of course.
But yeah, it's a great outlet for people, especially who are still mostly older people who still listen to a majority of their listening comes by way of terrestrial radio. So it's still important in that sense, and it's good to get in your car and be able to listen. So that was cool. Yeah. So
right.
But I did go to Western Maryland. I did go through Western Maryland last weekend, man. It was a lot of mountains.
Mountains.
It was pretty cool, and I did see the sign that said Frostburg State. So that was really cool.
It is. I actually used to like the drive out there. It was, the scenery was relaxing. It's all except for seeing Negro Mountain, which I believe I had looked it up some years ago. It's named after, not after because they didn't use his name, but named given that which they thought was a positive at the time because this brother had helped these white folks traverse this area and avoid the indigenous slaughter that had awaited them. So the reward for helping them was not his actual name being mentioned, but they called it Negro Mountain. And for years going back and forth, I got to see that and was just like, wow, that's just sure enough what they just left it up there like that, Negro Mountain. Anyway, so the algorithm of anyway, thanks again, brother Kaba, for coming through. Thanks to everybody else in the chat. I really appreciate it.
Thanks to the people too that shouted me out too for last week for the performance. I got a lot of good positive feedback.
Man, you killed it.
So I appreciate that.
Hey, you should clip that and NFT that joint and see if somebody will pay, because somebody should pay millions for your rendition of Donny Hathaway in particular, which is my favorite, but clip both of them joints and put them out as NFTs. If Tory Lanez is breaking the barriers and
I gotta break off Black Power Media though, because it's technically y'all's video.
We'll take a cut. But I put it out there, see what you could get, man, and then just slide us a little something off of the back end. I think anyway, that would be actually, I think we should try to do that. Why not? Like a sociological experiment.
You never know. Speaking of taking a cut, I heard y'all talk about OnlyFans the other day. They actually are going
that was
continue.
them.
They're going to actually continue their adult content.
So I thought that they weren't. Yeah, I thought they discontinued it. They put it back.
The banks weren't processing all of the payments, and I didn't know they make it's a crazy amount of money a month. I forgot what the actual number was. And some of these people on here some of them make like $8 million or something like that. But there was a guy who was actually going to start I think it was Tory Lanez, talking about him again. It might have been him or some other rapper who was going to actually, I don't know if it was him or not, but they were going to start their own, version of OnlyFans. And then it was right after that. Then all of a sudden they were like, we got to work this thing out. So they worked it out. And he even said that he was going to take only 10% of the proceeds, as opposed to OnlyFans, which takes 20% of the proceeds from its content creators. So, but anyway, OnlyFans is back. So Kim, Kim and Ear Doctor can get that hooked up.
They can resume that situation. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Anyway, hey, got something to say? We didn't get to it. Please
put it in the comments.
And we'll catch you next time here at I Mix What I Like live at Black Power Media. Peace, everybody, especially because I know you're willing to fight for it like Fred. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.